The legend of the New Order of Druids. It was in a time before time, when many tribes of the Celts ruled the lands of Gaul and far beyond, that a secret council of Druids was held. The Druids, powerful priests of the tribes, had foreseen the coming of a fierce enemy, one who would conquer the lands of Gaul and bring with them the standard of the eagle. They called themselves Romans and believed they were destined to rule the whole world, even at the cost of great suffering upon those who dwelled in it. And they were led by a mighty warrior, Julius Caesar, who would be victorious in all his battles. So it came to pass that the Druids, who all shared this dream of doom, gathered in the great forest of Broceliande. There they held a council to which no uninitiated were admitted. Many Druids had come, forming a vast circle beneath the ancient trees. And the Grand Druid, a woman named Druintia, the queen of the Druids, stood before the altar at the center. She brought offerings to the gods, hoping to please them, that they might descend to earth and offer good omens. They pleaded to Bel, god of light, who rose round and burning in the daylight sky, shining upon the lands of Gaul. They begged that he would send forth his fire and burn the lands of Rome. But no fierce dragons of flame came forth from his body, the sun, and the pleas of the Druids remained unanswered. Next, they pleaded to Torones, god of thunder, so he would command his fierce army of dark clouds to roar across the heavens and strike down with thunder all whom they willed. Yet he did not answer. The skies remained still. No lightning struck the Roman soldiers, who were already preparing their armies to march toward Gaul. Then they pleaded to Divona, goddess of waters, that she might send forth floods to drown the advancing Roman legions. But the rivers did not reverse their flow, and the lands between Rome and Gaul did not flood. The Roman soldiers marched onward, leaving their homes behind, pushing ever closer. When the Druids learned that the Romans brought horses, they pleaded to Epona, goddess of horses, to turn the minds of the Roman steeds to her will, so they would no longer obey their riders. But the horses did not stir. Their hoofbeats echoed from afar, for the Romans had reached the very edge of the great forest of Broceliande. Still, the gods had done nothing. In their despair, the Druids called upon Arduina, goddess of the trees, begging her to command the forest to block passage for the Romans. But the Romans began cutting down the trees, which stood powerless against their iron axes. Great roads were carved into the earth reaching from Gaul to Rome. When all hope had faded, and the gods had turned their faces away, it was Matrona, the mother goddess, who appeared within their circle. She had watched their pleas, and took pity upon these wise ones, who were, after all, only mortal, like all their tribesmen. Yet even with her compassion, and the powers she held from the other world, she could not change the destiny of Gaul. And so she came to offer the only thing still within her power, her knowledge of the great destiny. Thus she spoke to them. Great Druids and wise ones, thou art all learned, yet for all thy wisdom, thou cannot save thy people from the domination of Rome. For in the book of destiny it is written, that Rome shall bring not only conquest and burden to the lands of thy fathers, but also their culture, and their knowledge, from which thou may learn as thou wilt. And for 400 times shall the white cloak of winter fall upon thy lands, before Rome leads thee to thyself once more. And then she spoke no more. As her words faded into the quiet of the forest, the Druids knew her prophecy would come to pass. Yet, her message brought them no peace, for they feared that their sacred knowledge would be lost, should the Romans slay them all. Their thoughts were no longer on calling to the gods for help, it was too late for that, but on how they might preserve the ancient teachings passed down through countless generations, from master to apprentice. Old were they, these Druids, men and women alike, for it took 21 years to shape a Druid master, and another 21 to guide an apprentice to mastery. And they knew their magic would never prevail against the disciplined swords of Rome. If their sacred knowledge was not to be lost, they would need another way to preserve it against the coming storms of time. Thus began the great discord within the Council of Druids. Many Druids wished to withdraw into hiding, to survive in secret underground ways until the age of Rome had passed, and they might return to bring the sacred knowledge back into the world. Yet, others argued that the knowledge should be given openly to all, even to the uninitiated, rather than risk losing it forever. But these proposals were not welcomed by those who feared that such wisdom might fall into enemy hands. And time pressed against them, for the Roman armies drew ever nearer. Thus the council ruled in favor of those who wished to keep the sacred knowledge hidden in underground ways. Those who wished to declare the knowledge as public were outnumbered. Yet the council feared these dissenting Druids, for they might reject the will of the council and spread the teachings themselves to any who would listen. And so the council took precautions to prevent this. From each of those Druids, they seized the wooden staff and broke it in two. For within each staff dwelled much of a Druid's power, and without it, he would be left weakened and shunned. Even the uninitiated would refuse to heed the words of a staffless Druid. Druintia, the Grand Druid, spoke solemnly. Deprive thee of thy staff. We must, for thou have spoken treason against the sacred knowledge, when thou propose to reveal it to uninitiated ears. For this treason thou shalt pay, yet not with thy life this day. Thou shalt wander, and none shall listen to thee. But the Druids whose staves had been broken did not yield. Then we shall have children, they declared, and pass the sacred knowledge to them, and when they earn a Druid staff, they shall spread it into the world, and men shall hear them. But the Grand Druid answered, It shall not be so, for thy children, and their children, and all their descendants, shall likewise be forbidden from ever holding a Druid staff. And thus it shall be, until thy lineage has ended in this world. The Druids, who now held only broken staves, knew they were defeated, and at last they relented. Yet Druintia spoke words of hope to soften the weight of their fate. Though the Druids shall remain underground for many years, long after the Romans have left these lands, thy lineage shall not end yet. Thy children, and theirs after them, shall pass on the sacred knowledge. From father to son, from mother to daughter, though powerless it shall lead them. A day shall come, she continued, when a great bard shall find the one who seeks the union of the Druids. He shall not be of thy lineage, yet he shall rebuild the council of Druids, and gather them from all corners of the world. He shall bring about a new order of Druids. He shall be trained by the great bard who descends from thee. And this shall be the final task of thy bloodline, before the gods of the other world call forth the last of thy descendants. And 2,000 times shall the bed of snow fall upon this earth before this prophecy begins to take shape. So it came to pass that the Druids were scattered from that day forth, and never again would a council of such size gather in this world. The Romans advanced, and many Celts perished or fled. Among them Umbriacs, Dunnorics, and Vercingetorix. And for many centuries, the land of Gaul was bound beneath the power of the Roman Empire. Its people changed, its destiny altered. Yet its ancient memories never fully erased. 2,000 years did the wheel of time turn, until at last there arose a great bard in the land once called Gaul, now known as France. The sacred knowledge had been passed to him by his father, who had received it from his father before him, and so on, through the unbroken lineage of the Druids of the Broken Staff. Yet he called himself no Druid, for his teacher had passed away too soon, before all the teachings could be given to him. In time, this bard came upon his last apprentice, a young man from the land once called Belgica. To him he entrusted all the sacred knowledge he possessed, lest it be lost forever, for the bard had no children of his own. And so he spoke a prophecy to his apprentice. I have seen in a dream, where thou stood in a great forest, surrounded by many people who wore the robes of Druids. They had come at thy call. From near and afar, the bard continued, they gathered to offer thee their aid, for thou sought to create a new order of Druids, as foretold by the ancestors. And they came willingly, for the time had ripened, and the prophecy, long spoken, was ready to unfold. These were the last words of prophecy the bard bestowed upon his apprentice. For soon after, he passed into the quiet realms beyond life. Thus did the prophecy of Druintia, Queen of the Druids, come to pass. When the new order of Druids was founded in the land once known as Belgica, many Druids and bards answered the call of the last apprentice, gathering from all corners of the world to form the High Council. And so, after 2,000 winters had fallen upon the earth, the new order of Druids had risen at last. And here ends our tale, which is the legend of the new order of Druids.